Alrighty, guys. Good afternoon to you all here. A happy Friday, March 28th, 2025. We got about 3 days left here of the month before we are officially in the peak tornado season here going into April and May. And boy, are we about to kick off that April season here with a significant severe weather outbreak this week. And we are talking about long track tornadoes, damaging winds, and significantly large hail going into Sunday, Monday of this coming up weekend here, as well as next week where we have potentially even a more volatile setup going into next Wednesday where another severe weather outbreak could happen across the same areas that see it on Sunday and Monday. We do have severe weather as well going on down here into portions of eastern Texas and Louisiana. The Storm Prediction Center actually just issued a tornado watch down there that is valid through 7 p.m. Central Time this afternoon. You can actually see there's one little tornado warning in place left over from a little supercell that's in place there. Very conditional tornado risk down there, but that watch is in place due to the fact that we've had a couple warnings this morning. We have not seen any confirmed tornadoes. Most of these are very brief spin ups, so I'm not expecting anything big or crazy significant down there for you guys. Just be mindful if you're in that watch down there. That includes western and central Louisiana and eastern Texas. We also do have a low end risk for severe weather back up here into portions of Nebraska, into portions of northwestern Iowa, southern Minnesota, and northwestern Wisconsin. You can see two different things. You've got a strong upper level low here, or surface level low, developing here in Texas. It's bringing in that onshore flow, those bands of storms that are going to be developing. That's actually going to bring some rain showers and thunderstorms across the southeast and the Ohio Valley tomorrow before we start to kick off our event. And then on the left side of your screen here, this is our big system coming in for Sunday and Monday. This is what's going to cause a potential significantly dangerous severe weather outbreak and possibly even a tornado outbreak going into the Ohio Valley and the deep south on Sunday and Monday. So we're going to talk about all those things here. This is going to probably be a little bit of a lengthy video just because there's so much information to get out to you guys. So stick with me here. Once again, if you're in that tornado watch down in Louisiana and East Texas today, do be safe down there. We will be on standby after this afternoon in case we need to go live for that event. But other than that, we'll talk about what we're going to have happen here over the next couple of days. And we got the Storm Prediction Center's outlook here for today. This is a low end, like I said, severe weather threat for today here. We've got a small 2% tornado risk in place for central, western, and northern Louisiana and East Texas here. Conditional tornado risk in place, meaning a couple isolated tornadoes could happen. We also have a wind threat up there in our northern mode and a wind threat down here in our marginal risk zone and a hail threat up into portions of Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And then a small end hail threat down into portions of southeastern extreme Texas there. So not expecting anything crazy today. And I will really quickly, since we are making this video and this watch is valid, we do have that tornado watch in place here until 7 p.m. Central Time for Lufkin, just east of Houston, Texas here through Lake Charles, Fort Polk, and Port Arthur, and then up just outside of Shreveport here. So this is a little mini watch. We typically actually don't get tornado watches a lot of the times in these marginal risk zones, but when we do have a threat that is organizing here, you can see that they will issue that watch. So once again, that's valid till 7 p.m. Central Time. Just be mindful if you're out and about today in that watch box. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything significant. I do want to go to the day 2 forecast because this just updated this afternoon here. We've got a slight risk, level 2 risk out of 5 here for northern Oklahoma, portions of eastern and central Kansas, western and northwestern portions of Missouri, and then a marginal risk that extends from Texas through Kansas up in Oklahoma here into portions of Iowa, western Illinois, and southern Wisconsin. Now, tomorrow is a very tricky setup, and I mentioned that in yesterday's video. There is the possibility that we could get this slight risk to extend down a little bit further south if storms in fact look like they're going to fire off. We have a pretty big capping inversion that's going to be in place over much of this area. That's basically that temperature inversion aloft in the atmosphere. When your dew points and your temperatures are separated so far apart, you get a capping inversion, and that can prohibit storms from firing off and becoming severe or really happening at all in general. And so the consensus is we are going to see storms initiate with our low pressure system closer to that low developing tomorrow night. We will be on standby to go live for this event tomorrow night if need be. There's also a possibility, I would not rule this out, due to some higher end scenarios that could be happening with this event. If it were to materialize or look like it's going to materialize, we could get it upgraded, enhanced risk maybe for a strong tornado or hail risk somewhere in that shaded area tomorrow across Missouri and Kansas. So you really need to be on alert tomorrow night. This is something that we need to be definitely on standby for if you're in Kansas, if you're in Missouri, if you're in Iowa, Illinois, central Oklahoma there, and north portions of Texas. You need to be on alert for tomorrow for severe weather. That'll be tomorrow night into the overnight hours that develops. So just something to be mindful of. Tornado risk for tomorrow currently right now is at a 2%, northern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, and western Illinois. Wind threat is at a 5%, and we do have a hatched hail risk where we could see hail anywhere from 2 to maybe 2.5 inches in diameter in that hatched region there for northern Oklahoma and East Kansas. That's just east of Wichita. And then we could also see outside of that 1 to 2 inches in diameter hail for that rest left of that 15% risk zone, and then that 5% risk zone also. Now, let's talk about Sunday. Sunday is going to be the big day, and boy, has this blown up. I mentioned yesterday in my video as well the possibility of a enhanced risk coming out, and they did put that enhanced risk out here. A very large enhanced risk zone from portions of Illinois, almost all of Indiana, western Ohio, western and central Kentucky, eastern and central Missouri, almost all of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northeast extreme Texas, northwestern and central Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, and much of Tennessee. That is that level 3 risk zone out of 5. We do have a slight risk in the yellow shaded color back from Michigan all the way down to the deep south and eastern portions of the plains, and then a marginal risk zone in that dark green there extending all the way down to the coastline. Now, this is part of a major severe weather outbreak that's going to happen this week, and this will be day 1. We'll have day 2 on Tuesday or on Monday, and I want you guys to see something here because this is going to update later on tonight, and we're going to actually go live for this event tonight on TikTok and talk about this tonight when the day 2 outlook comes out at 1 a.m. But we do have a hatched region, a pretty big hatched region here. Anybody in that red hatched area there, we could see significant wind, significant hail, and significant long track tornadoes potentially as well. The Storm Prediction Center has actually mentioned the possibility for multiple strong tornadoes, including a couple long-lived tornadoes. So I would not also be surprised, and this is just me kind of speaking here, if we were to get some type of a moderate risk zone to be issued for somewhere in this middle of this area here coming up closer to this event if confidence increases. So this risk zone will actually update again in about an hour, and if we get anything, we'll talk about it on stream later on tonight, but I would not be surprised if a 15% risk zone for tornadoes or wind or hail were to come out for a 45 or something like that. So just something to be mindful of. This looks to be more of a large significant hail event and then a damaging wind and then a strong tornado risk, kind of in linear form like that. But we'll have to see what our models do this afternoon. Now, our short range models are not quite in range yet for Sunday's event. I do want to make that known. We will have those models in range tonight when we go live. Her model will be in official range for that. So a significant severe weather outbreak on tap for Sunday. You need to have a way to get weather alerts on your phone. You need to have a tornado action plan in place, and you need to have supplies stocked up just in case you were to get hit by storms, lose power, all that, etc. I will make this known as well. We are going to see another severe weather potential outbreak next week on Wednesday that's going to be majority over the same areas, so we're going to talk about that here in a second as well. I do want to go ahead and go to day 4's outlook here, and this is from the Storm Prediction Center for your Monday forecast, and once again, this has changed. We now have a slight risk that extends all the way up here into the northeastern corridor of the Northeast, so that excludes all the way almost up here into Maryland. We've got portions of the far storm extreme coastline here, all the way down to Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida Panhandle, and into northern Florida, and into Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. This is going to start at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Or on Monday. It's going to pick up after Sunday night's transition, go into Monday, and then go into Monday afternoon before exiting the coastline and being done. But there's a little bit of a question mark on what mode we're going to see up here in the far northern extreme portions of the Northeast here. I think we're a little bit more certain on a tornado, wind, and hail threat down here. It's going to be a little bit lower than what Sunday's risk zone is going to be, because that low is officially going to be weakening as it moves off to the east, but we will have instability, we will have shear, so we will keep you guys updated on this risk zone. I also would not be surprised if an enhanced risk also were to be issued somewhere in the deep south for that region as well, for an upgrade potentially. Now, nothing on day 5 is forecasted, and then we get to day 6, where once again, we have another severe weather episode coming on Wednesday. I talked about this in yesterday's video, the fact that we're going to see multiple systems as we go into the first 2 weeks of April, and boy, the Storm Prediction Center is busy. We have a day 6 outlook once again, and this looks like the exact same areas that are going to get hit on Sunday again next week on Wednesday. So the Ohio Valley is going to be in the fact for this. We're going to have the Ozarks, Mississippi Valley, all the way down here into Texas, eastern Oklahoma, and northern Louisiana. Once again, all modes of severe weather will be possible, and I wouldn't be surprised if an upgrade happens downstream for that risk zone in the northern portions where our low is going to come into on your Wednesday next week. So it is going to be a very, very busy time frame, guys. We are going to be wall-to-wall coverage live stream a lot on TikTok, so be very, very mindful of that. If you need weather coverage, we'll be in place for that. I do want to go ahead and show you guys kind of what the HER model is showing for the rest of this afternoon. You can see that deep surface low is showers and thunderstorms ongoing this afternoon. Those storms will start to dwindle as we get closer to about 7 to 8 o'clock tonight as that tornado watch does expire. You can see multiple rounds of storms for some people. Some supercells could produce some wind, some hail, and some isolated tornado threat. Just be very, very mindful of that, but that will clear out, and basically we'll see showers and storms and some rain. Just a dreary day tomorrow for your Saturday for portions of Mississippi, Arkansas, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and eastern Missouri. And then we get into the forecast for Saturday. We'll talk about the northern mode here in just a second, but Saturday, once again, looking to be potentially capped out. Most of our storms are going to be up here in northern Oklahoma, where that slight risk is at. If we get any storms that do develop in central Oklahoma or northern Texas, and they do break that cap, we actually could see a pretty significant severe weather event happen, and that's a conditional side of things. That's why the Storm Prediction Center has not really expanded that risk zone further down south with an upgrade because of the lower end confidence on a scenario happening like that. But nevertheless, any storms that do fire off in risk zones tomorrow across the Central Plains and the western portions of the Missouri Valley could see a significant hail, wind, or tornado threat develop if that were to happen. Now, we'll go ahead and go to the northern mode so you guys can also see this as well here. Looking at that northern mode will be a little bit more active. You can see that low moving in and then showers and storms firing off very, very late tomorrow night. This is going to be around 8 p.m. to the overnight hours. So once these storms initiate tomorrow night, we'll be on live stream covering this as well. But we could see the threat for some damaging winds, some hail. This doesn't look to be like a big time outbreak, but any storms, like I say, that do attach into that atmosphere and grab onto that instability and shear in the atmosphere will have the threat for a tornado damaging wind threat and a hail threat. So just something to kind of monitor. And then also the Midwest for today, I do not want to forget about you guys. Up here in Wisconsin and Minnesota, we do have that threat for a couple showers and some storms and isolated wind and hail threat later on tonight, closer to the late night, overnight hours here. We could see a couple storms fire off, giving us a wind and a hail threat. Nothing too big up there expected. So that's what we've got for the next, 4 to 5 days here. Let's talk about what we're going to see for the setup on Sunday. And like I said, we don't have our radar in range quite yet for Sunday. We'll get that here later on tonight. But I want to show you guys the setup that is at play. We have a strong atmospheric setup for Sunday's event. Now, there will be a capping inversion on place in the Ohio Valley in the Midwest, and that's going to limit any morning time convection from developing, which is going to overall make Sunday's setup a lot bigger in a scale of intensity potentially. And so you can see these dew points trickling in Sunday afternoon. This is right around peak heating. We could see dew points, guys, as far as the mid to upper 60s, as far as Illinois, almost Michigan, up here into portions of southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa. I mean, these dew points, this is going to be one of the most volatile setups we've had all year long in terms of dew points, instability, and shear. Shear is a little bit lacking, but we do have enough shear in place for a tornado and wind threat. I think ultimately at the end of the day, when it comes down to this threat for Sunday, we're going to see a lot of large hail. And then that tornado risk will definitely accompany any storms that could latch onto rotation in the lower to mid levels. You can also see as we go into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening here, look at these dew points, guys. We're pushing 70-degree dew points at the end of March here. That is very hard to get dew points to get pushed that far. So when we have a system coming in that's allowing for dew points to surge that far to the north here, it is a volatile setup. It's an explosive atmospheric setup, and we're definitely going to see that in place for the event there on your Sunday. Here's an idea of what the instability could look like here as well going into Sunday afternoon, and explosive instability atmospheric conditions here as well. We've got instability anywhere from 1,500 joules per kilogram to almost 4,000 joules per kilogram, somewhere in that corridor here. And like I said, that is why that enhanced risk is so big. That's because of the fact that we have such a volatile atmospheric setup. And I think a lot of widespread significant severe weather is definitely going to be on the table. This could probably be one of our biggest widespread events so far this year. We've had a lot of mini regional outbreaks that have happened, but in terms of widespread severity, this is definitely something that could be a factor. And another thing that I am very paying much close attention to is those tornado parameters going into the overnight hours into Sunday and Monday. This will start Sunday evening. This will go Sunday overnight. This will go into Monday, and this will go into Monday afternoon. So this is going to be a 48-hour event once this kicks off on Sunday. But here's an idea of what we could see with our tornado parameters. A very, very high STP rates or lapse rates as well considered with those STP values that we're seeing here. So we have lapse rates that are high to allow for the large hail and the damaging wind threat to unfold. We'll have significant STP rates as well for tornado potential. This is going to be a long weekend, guys. I want you guys to please be prepared for this, especially my Ohio Valley peeps, my Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Eastern Missouri peeps. I will be in the wrong one with you guys as well, riding this out on Sunday night and Wednesday next week as well. So just something to kind of have in your back pocket, be having a way to get those alerts on your phone, have a weather preparedness plan, and be stocked up and ready to go just in case something does happen. Now, briefly here, I want to talk about just an overall pattern of what we're going to see here. You can see our jet stream setting up that surface level low that's down here into portions of the Gulf states going to be moving out. But this is our jet stream setup for Saturday and Sunday. And as we go into Sunday here, you're going to see more of a negatively tilted trough, giving us that higher in threat for severe weather here across the Ohio Valley and into the Ozarks and the Mississippi River Valley on Sunday night into Monday. And then as we go into Monday afternoon here, you're going to see that jet stream extend out. We'll see that low end severe weather threat to medium severe weather threat from Louisiana back up into portions of the northeast corridor on Monday evening. And then that system pushes out. And then we get a little bit of a break on Tuesday before we see a more robust significant severe weather threat up. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This setup on Wednesday next week could be a little bit bigger than what we're seeing this weekend. And I know it's crazy that we keep kind of topping these events here, but It's almost April. Like I said, this will be April next week. So the threat for significant severe weather is always on the table when you go April, May, and June, especially for peak tornado season. So this is just an idea of what we could see late next week, mid to late next week from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm not going to go too in depth with this setup quite yet because we're still working out details on it. But you can see just a very, very active jet stream, at least and through the second week of April here before we start to see maybe some pattern changes at that point on. So just something to kind of be mindful of. We'll talk more in depth on this in the live streams and in tomorrow's video as we get more details on these events. But other than that, guys, I will see y'all later on this afternoon. Be safe, get prepared. Now is the time to do that. And hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Be safe, guys.